All right, welcome to assignment second from last-ish. We have two more major assignments left, which is super awesome. This is going to be a vector poster. This is an example of one. This is not one that I did. This is one that I found on Google. A whole bunch out here. So what you're going to be doing is creating a stylized poster. Okay. Now the idea here is that we're taking some illustrations and creating shading just using a few different colors. All right, so if I go to my Illustrator file, this Mario one on the left was created with basically 6 colors. There are some changes every once in a while. There might be just like a more of a white in here, but for the most part these are 6 colors for the Mario one, and then the Luigi one is also 6 colors there. Okay, so you want to use a limited palette. I would say probably 6 colors is a good number. If you get too high on there, it could really screw things up, or too low, you don't have enough colors to pick from. Okay, and if you look at these, you basically have like a black. This isn't a full black. If you look at the color information, it's pretty close. The saturation is at saturation is at 70, brightness is at 15, and then the hue is at like 6. Okay, so there is some dark brownishness to this. Here's like a medium brown, a medium light, and then a light brown. Okay, almost a white. And then you have these 2 primary colors. Now what's interesting about these 2 pictures here, they were done by the same person, is that these first 4 colors are identical. Okay, so these 4 here and these 4 there are, I'm going to say, almost identical. There is a subtle shift to them, but almost identical. And then most of the color is going to come from these. So you'll see there's a lot of like pop that happens in there. Okay, so your first step in this is decide whether you want to go the route of drawing your own one of these things, or if you want to use somebody else's. But just like before, if you use somebody else's, make sure you're giving them credit so that you're not stealing someone else's artwork, okay, and calling it your own. If you decide to do your own, looking at some of these examples here, you can see the way that some of these are set up. Okay, they basically have a major graphic. So like this is the major graphic here, and then they have some supporting graphics alongside it. So in the Incredibles one, the Mr. Incredible and his wife, I'm considering the major graphics. And then to a point, him too. She's kind of secondary because you don't really see a whole lot of her. The baby's kind of smaller. And you have some of these other things that are secondary graphics. Same thing with Toy Story. Woody is the main character here. Kind of Buzz also because he's up there. And then you have some secondary things that are just afterthoughts. Okay, something like this, there's actually a bigger color palette in here, and this, this works because of the bigger color palette because there's more items in it. But like I said, just be careful of the colors that you're choosing with this. Genie is the main one here. Jafar is kind of main also, and then these guys are kind of secondary, smaller items inside there. Okay, or dominant and subdominant, however you want to look at that. All right, so it can be as simple as the Mario one. That one makes, as far as complexity goes, it makes the easiest way to do this happen. You have one character, and it could be from anything. It could be from Harry Potter. It could be from some other video game you play, Metroid or Zelda or whatever. Okay, one main character, and then all the little boxes down here. You can see that they're not all filled up. But they're things from the game. Like here's coins, right? Here is mushroom, here is Bullet Bill, here's flower, here's a spiky turtle thing, I forgot what those are called. Cloud, star. Okay, so there's other things from the game. And then even on the Luigi one, they have the fish one, they have the mushroom guy bigger, they have the plant here, just like they do there, just different colors. I'm surprised the fish isn't on the Mario one. Anyway. So it's super simple if you just break it down like this. When you get into something like that, or like this, or like that, it takes a bit more design flow for this to happen. So if you decide to do one on your own, definitely look at your skill level as to where you want to take this. Now we're going to be spending about a week and a half on this, and then overlapping it with our second from last assignment, or it's actually like the final assignment or the final big assignment, I'll call it. We have one smaller one at the end, but it's not too crazy. But look at the designs of these and decide whether you want to attempt something like this, if you're capable of that. Some people are not at the design level yet because this is still kind of like an introductory class to creating artwork, not necessarily the design of the artwork or the layout of it. That's a little bit too dramatic for me, okay? So look at your own skills. Don't waste time with you know, doing millions of hours of research. Just decide. You know, I am comfortable kind of working on some layout. Even something as simple as this could work. But that Mario one, it's just the reason I love it so much is it's so simple. The content basically makes itself. You have Mario and then items from the game Super Mario Brothers. In the 1985, I believe that was when it came out, or when Nintendo came out. So just makes it super simple. Okay, so decide on what you're going to do, or you're going to grab one of these and redraw one of these. Okay. And just like redrawing one of these, make sure that you pick one that is going to work. Okay, you have enough time to draw out all of these. Something like the Mario one is great, super simple shapes. Something like the South Park, you're basically redrawing each character, right? So same thing here, a lot of different detail there. This one's a bit simpler. Okay, so decide what you're going to do with that. Now, let's say that you do decide on something that you're going to do on your own. So here is a picture of Marlin from Finding Nemo. So here's a simple way to figure out what Marlin would look like if he was a vectorized drawing like this, because sometimes people haven't, like this, have a hard time envisioning like where these lines would come in and where we should put them. All right, so this isn't going to get you 100% there, but it'll get you about 75%, okay? Or at least looking in the same ballpark. So what you do is you copy the image or save the image, however you want to do it. And then you would have to have Photoshop on your computer, which if you have the Adobe suite, you would have Photoshop. And then what you're going to do is go to Filter, and then go to Filter Gallery. And inside here, there's one called Cutout. And what's neat about it is you can basically pick the amount of levels you want, okay? And what we're doing is just looking for the lines, because that's what we want to have inside of Illustrator, are some nice lines that we could use, okay? So something with this at level 6 on this specific picture works good. There's also edge simplicity. That's too much. Okay. Too much edge simplicity. We need to pull it back. Most of the time, you're probably going to go all the way left with this, okay? And then edge fidelity, which is where the edge is going to lay. Okay, in this specific picture, we're not seeing a whole lot of change. Just pull that back to that side. All right, so I'll hit OK. And now what I can do is use this as my reference for how I would draw Marlin. Now, it's not going to be a perfect thing, like I said, but it'll get you closer. So now I would know that when I bring this into Illustrator, I would draw along, I'm just going to grab my brush here so you can see it. I would draw my paths along these areas here. So I would know exactly-ish where to put these edges, okay? And then in Illustrator, obviously, we can tweak things and draw new edges and erase stuff, but it gets us a good starting point. And that's the idea with this, is you may not have the eye yet to understand where you're going to put this. So what you want to do is at least have an idea of ways that you can get that information, okay? Oops. Okay, now areas in the, let me go right there. Areas in the back here where the tail is basically gone. If you look at the original image, it's basically orange, black, and then this blue is just the edging, the very tip of it, more like a transparency. And then there's some orangey kind of streaks in here. So that's simple. We could just put orange, black, this blue, and then just do streaks inside there. Or using our color palette, change some things up a bit. Same thing here, adding some yellow inside there. You don't need to add every line, but you want to have something there so that it looks like it has the same amount of detail needed to get an idea across of what it is. Okay, so that's one way to do that kind of thing. So going into Illustrator, you're going to make a new document. Now this is going to be a different size. So we're going to make this an 8" by 10". We're going to make it portrait, so it's up and down. CMYK still, hit create. Okay. If you're using one of these that you downloaded, you're just going to paste it and then make it, pretty big. You wouldn't need to do both of these. I don't know why I'm sizing up for both. I would just do one of these. So maybe let's say I did Luigi. So I'd want to make sure that Luigi fit on that screen. There we go. Okay. If I want to get rid of the Mario part, I can't just do this because it'll squish it. Okay. If I go to the direct select though, I can grab this point and this point and scoot those over. Oops. Come on, that point. Oops, sorry, wrong program. I'm just gonna make a box over Luigi and shift click Mario and just do a clipping mask. That works. Cool. All right, so there's my tracing layer. So now I can just call this tracing. I'll lock it. I'll make a new layer. And then I would just start drawing this, okay? Now, before I get into coloring all this stuff, I want to make sure I have my colors chosen over here. So I'm just going to make some boxes before I actually get into the drawing part. And you could do squares. You could do circles. I like to have them kind of big, at least at first, just to make sure that I can see them. Oops, I'm just going to hit I and just click that. There we go. And then drag this down. And then Control D. Like I said, 6 colors, 6 circles. If yours has maybe 8, that would be good. I really avoid going into crazy amounts, especially if you have something as simple as this, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the eyedropper tool. And I'm going to double click it. And this allows you to choose what the way that the eyedropper is working, okay? So by default, it's set to point sample, meaning that it hovers over an individual pixel and grabs that specific color. Now, that may seem pretty accurate enough, but if you look really close here, you'll actually see there are some color distortions in this. So as I click here and I move my mouse around, I'm actually getting different colors in this area. And realistically, I don't want that. I want it to be pretty uniform and pretty flat. So if I double click this, I can change this to be a 5x5 average. And what that means is when it goes into this area and I click, it's actually sampling 5 pixels left, 5 pixels down, and grabbing this, okay? Or 2.5 this way, 2.5 that way, whatever. However you want to look at it. That's what it's doing, is creating an average of the pixels in this area, okay? And the bigger the 5x5 or 3x3, which was the other option, 3x3, the bigger that selection is, okay? But I have to make sure I'm kind of accurate in where I pick it. If I go to the edge of this, and you can see the pixel here, and I click, it's actually sampling this color, this color, this color, and that color to create this one. And so that's not an accurate color. So I want to make sure I'm kind of in the middle and do my color swatching or selecting from there, okay? So I'm going to click on this one, click that, grab this one, click that, grab this one, click that, grab this one. And if I see that, whoops, I grabbed the wrong color, then I will definitely come back out and grab a different color. Okay. And I think on my swatch I use these 2 colors as pretty much the same thing. I can go with probably another one. Grab that. It's so close. It works. Okay. So now I ended up with 7 just because these 2 are pretty close, and these 2 are pretty close. This one has a bit more red, a bit dark, lighter on the side. Okay. So you know, sometimes you can get away with just using this one color or this one color. It really depends on the piece. Okay. So now I'm going to take these and I'm going to throw these onto my layer 2, which is right there, and call this color swatches. I will lock this layer also so I don't destroy it. Then I make a new layer, and then I just start my drawing stuff, okay? So this will be Luigi. So while I'm drawing Luigi here, you want to look at the shapes of him, okay? So you wouldn't draw, like, let's say, for instance, his face. There is this color right here. I'm just kind of outlining that. And then coming up here with that. Coming down here. I'm going to switch my color just so I can see this. All right. Now you'll see that there is a like crescent on here. I'm not going to try to grab the inside shape. I'm not going to try to get this perfect as I draw this here and then try to come in and then try to outline this. That's just not necessary, okay? I'm going to try to create a nice smooth shape for his nose. I know it's about there, so I'll put that there. I'm going to go down to here. Oops. Actually, I'm going to go down to here. You can see that's where this thin line is right down there. Go up to that area. I'm going to alt click here so that I get a nice sharp corner. Alt click there and then jump back up to that. Okay. So if I look at just that color, I'm going to use my color over here. Don't resample from this, sample from here. Okay. So you'll see that this shape that I just drew doesn't really look like Luigi, but that's fine because the stuff that we're going to layer on top of it will make it look like Luigi. Now for this assignment, I'm not going to do the entire thing, but I'm going to draw out some pieces just to get the ball rolling. Because once you have the understanding of how to attach it, how to attack this, then the rest of it is pretty simple. So let's go to my color here, and I'm just going to switch this back, and again just give it a weird color, okay, purple. That way I know where it's at, okay? So I drew that shape, so now I'm going to draw this other one, okay? Now instead of trying to fit in here to get this piece, I'm actually going to start it about here. Okay, and now I'm going to start to outline this coming down. Now this is why you really don't want to outline exactly where you need stuff, because if you look, I have to be pretty close to drawing the exact same line, the exact same curvature. Otherwise this could look kind of wonky, all right? And then now I'm going to come in here and grab this. So you'll see now I'm actually drawing in that nose shape. And drag that back. Oops. Good. Pull that out. Okay. So I'm going to click this. All right, now looking at where the mustache is, I could say, okay, well the mustache is going to be on top of this, so I really could just kind of scoot that right there. Alt click there, draw the ear out. Now in this one I'm drawing the dark part, and I'll layer the lighter part on top of it. Okay. And I'll layer the hair on top of this, so I can actually go come around. Oops, too far. There we go. All right, so I've outlined that. So now I'll outline the next part, which is going to be down here. I'm going to go under the mustache. And then looking at the shirt, where am I going to go with that? I think I'll go here. Go. All right, so let's see what that's going to look like when we add some color. So I'm going to grab, well, let me outline the ears first, and then we'll do that. Okay. So I'm going to go here. And basically I'm outlining the dark part in this area. Undo that. And you're going to find a lot of the same stuff that we have already done. You're going to be doing in this one. And so as we get further into these end assignments, you'll find there's a lot of repetition from what we did. And the reason is just to ingrain these concepts back in, okay? Because you want to make sure that these things don't go away. You want to make sure that you're plenty capable of getting into Illustrator, drawing stuff out, adding lines, changing colors, playing with the tools to get the right shapes you need, staying organized. This tool is one that you will use throughout. Go. Okay. And I'm just going to outline his mustache here, and then we'll add some color in there. And because his mustache is symmetrical, I can actually just draw half of this. Right, so always look for those little spots too where you can kind of cheat your way around it. Okay, eyebrows. This eyebrow is raised. This one's lower. So definitely symmetrical, but I would just have to offset the one. So, except for the eyes, that looks pretty good. Oops. Draw that shape there. Good. Okay. So now let's do this. I'm going to hit I. I'm going to grab my colors. Do. There you go. And if it helps too, sometimes it's hard to see exactly what's supposed to be what color. Just like you have your tracing layer, just like the pepper one, it may help to actually duplicate it off to the side. That way you can kind of see like what am I actually coloring and drawing and whatever else. Lock that again. Go. Alright, so this piece we're going to mirror, so I'm going to hit O. Pivot doesn't matter, I'm just going to hold Alt and gotta drag it first, then hit Alt. There we go. Then I can hold Shift. I have two. Cool. That's good there. Do the same thing as this. Go to O. I'm going to put the pivot right at the center-ish. Drag, Alt, Shift. Got both of these. Use the darker color. Okay, now these little lines that are here, I'm going to grab these. Oops, one at a time. And I'm just going to shift click, oops, that color. Because I don't want to change the, if I don't shift click it, it'll fill it with that. I want to shift click it so it only does the color and loads the color into the stroke. Okay. There we go. So you can see if I just turn this layer off here, you can see how quickly we were able to get these shapes. Now there is some stuff that we want to tweak. We don't want to just leave it like that. So some things, oops, turn it back on. Some things that will be taken care of is his hair right here. Okay, so that'll cover up this weird spot that we have here with the ear and there with the ear, so that'll definitely be taken care of. His hair will also take care of this weird glob part up here. All right. When we get his eyes in, you'll see how the colors are laid out. It's going to be the same exact process of that. Okay. Now, when you have something like these little lines, you always want to use the width tool or use one of these profiles to really capture what that's supposed to look like, because that'll just help you give you a little bit more definition in some of those spots. Okay, so we'll go here. Now you can also do this too. This is kind of a neat thing. If you double click that eyedropper tool, you can tell it that I don't want to do any of the fills. Okay, but I can do, I'll just turn that off. I can do the focal stroke. Okay, and what that means is that if I click on this, you'll see that, oops, come on. Oh, there we go. And I want the stroke on there, or the color on there, or the transparency. There we go. So if I click on this, it'll actually inherit the stroke width of that. It doesn't do the stroke path or profile, so I still have to do that, but the other stuff it does inherit, which is kind of nice. Just want to make sure I go back and reset it. There. All right. So there's that. We also have inside here, we have this line that goes across there. Okay. Remember we didn't draw that. We just stopped here. And this is a great thing that we can do, is just kind of draw this edge that comes across. Okay, now this is the reason I did this, because I want to be able to edit that separately. That way I can click on it, I can give it a big stroke. Oops, I want it to be that. And then I just have to get this to flow from one side to the other. And if I came down too low here, I can just move that point up. There we go. Okay, so you can see how quickly this is going to come together, because it's just a matter of laying out these pieces that are already set up. And it's the same process if you were to have used your own drawing or used your own image like this and then converted it to a cutout. Now you don't have to do the cutout thing. That's just in case you can't see where you'd want to draw those shapes. Basically, it's just those contrast areas, okay? You can use any of the other tools that we've gone through. We really don't need to create gradients on this thing. It should just be solid colors that you're using. Okay, you can see there's solid colors all over the place. For the L that's up here, I would even draw that. For any of these areas where you see these little crescents, you can just go in with your, just to show you, let me grab my circle tool. Okay, so I drew a circle right here. There it is. Okay. Let me eyedrop that color. There it is. Okay. And then what I can do is take this and then add that stroke color to it. Okay, so you can see it. And then I can go to the width tool, and if you look at where it stops about here and about there. So if I just squeeze this down here, squeeze it down here, and then just give this some transition here. There we go. So now we've created that all within one shape. So you can do stuff like that. Even like these eyebrows there that flow from one to the other, you could draw just a path down there and just use the width tool to create that. That's totally acceptable. Some of these, obviously, you're going to zoom in and see all the detail there. just do your best to get the shapes correct, okay? Don't zoom in on this and try to draw it like that. That is ridiculous to even try to see. Just use your knowledge of, if you're using, let's say this one, what this is supposed to look like. So the plant would go like this. And I would definitely want to make sure that that stroke is now put back to uniform. And oops, I didn't close it. That's why it's weird. There we go. All right, so then I can choose my colors, add some dots. They don't be in the same spot. Add some teeth, add some flowers down there. Okay, doesn't have to be exact right up against it, but you do want to get it so that it's recognizable as that shape. Okay, as you go through, make sure you're labeling your stuff. Okay, so like turn this off and that off. So when I go to this shape, I know that this is his button. You don't have to label each piece, but just make sure they're labeled in a way that makes sense. These are all pieces of the face. I can Control G to group them and just call this face. Okay, that's acceptable too. Some of these you may want to label specific. So if this is this piece and that piece there are the mustache, I may want to say mustache just so that I know what it's called. You don't have to go into that level. But I definitely want to make sure it's labeled more than Luigi or Mario or whoever. Okay, so once you're done, you'll save it. You'll put it in your Dropbox folder, and then I'll be able to see your reference image, right? And then I'll be able to see your color swatches, and then I'll be able to see your final product. All right. Awesome. So shorter lecture today, obviously, because we just went over the concepts and not the step-by-step of how to do everything. A lot of these things you already know how to do. It's just a matter of applying those steps in this specific format. If you need to, you can move layers forward or backwards. Just to show you, let me ungroup. Let me just grab that. If this is not displaying correctly, ungroup this. There we go. Why aren't you moving down? Oh, you already are down. I'm pushing on a button. There we go. So if I move him up, you'll see that it actually came above that line. So now he's not, that line isn't visible anymore. I kind of lose the other stuff. So just make sure that you're layered correctly so that he's in the right spot to be able to see all the detail that you put in. If you need to go back afterwards and kind of clean some stuff up or tweak some stuff, feel free to. Like where this edge is, I can kind of cut that a little bit more. There we go. Make sure you don't have any white spots. You see there's a little white spot right there. So my overlapping just needed a tiny bit more work. Okay, so have some overlap on those, otherwise you will get white all over the place. Cool. All right, so have fun with this one. You have a week and a half for it, but it doesn't mean you wait until the last day to do it, because it is going to take some time to draw out all the different shapes and keep everything organized. Okay, cool.